Okay, let's be real for a second. There are a few phrases in the transit world that can make your stomach drop, and FTA Triennial Review is definitely one of them. It feels like this giant, unavoidable final exam. But what if we looked at it differently? What if you could go from just trying to survive it to actually mastering it? Well, in this explainer, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to give you a clear, confident strategy to turn that stress into success. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you why this whole thing is way more predictable than you might think. Then, we'll walk through the process step by step so nothing catches you by surprise. We'll touch on all 23 compliance areas, but more importantly, we're going to zero in on the spots where agencies usually get tripped up. After that, we'll get practical and build your single most powerful tool for this, the compliance binder. And we'll wrap it all up with some solid advice on how to handle that on-site visit like an absolute pro.
All right, let's start by just acknowledging the elephant in the room. For most folks in transit, that triennial review just looms over everything. It feels like this massive, high-stakes audit. And you know what? You're not entirely wrong, but that is only half the story.
I mean, this quote really nails it, doesn't it? It's the one that keeps transit managers up at night. And there's a good reason for that. This is the most comprehensive oversight tool the FTA has. It touches literally every single part of your operation, your books, your buses, your policies, everything. So if you've ever felt that pressure, you are not alone. It's designed to be this thorough.
But here it is. This is the single most important thing I want you to take away today. The triennial review is 100% predictable. And no, that is not an exaggeration. There are no trick questions. There are no hidden requirements. The FDA publishes exactly what they're looking for. The manuals, the checklists, it's all public. Think about that for a second. It's like being given all the questions to a test before you walk in the door. And that means you can prepare with absolute precision. So with that huge piece of information in our back pocket, the fact that this is predictable, let's break down the process itself. Once you understand the sequence of events, you can get ahead of each stage. It's not some big mystery, it's just a roadmap from start to finish. And here's that map. It all kicks off with the official notice. You'll get this a few months in advance, basically a heads up that your review cycle is starting. Pretty soon after that, you'll get the document request. This is their shopping list. They're going to ask for specific policies, plans, and records. And honestly, this is your first chance to shine by giving them well-organized, complete files. Next up is the big one, the on-site visit. Reviewers will be at your facility for a few days, interviewing staff and observing how you do things. We'll talk more about how to handle that in a bit. At the very end of their visit, they hold an exit conference. Pay attention here. This is where they'll give you their initial thoughts and findings. It's your chance to ask questions and clear up any confusion. And finally, you get the final report. This is the official written summary of everything, and it starts the clock on your response to any findings. See? A very clear, straightforward process.
Okay, so we've got the process down. But what are they actually looking for when they show up? Well, the whole review is built around 23 specific compliance areas. You can think of these as the fundamental pillars that hold up your federal funding.
Now, this slide just shows a handful of the 23, but it gives you a sense of the scope. They look at foundational stuff like your legal authority and financial systems, sure, but they also do a deep dive into some really critical areas. For instance, they'll pick apart your procurement process to make sure it's fair and competitive. They'll scrutinize your Title VI program to ensure you're not discriminating. They'll check your compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA. And they'll for sure check your drug and alcohol testing program, your board-approved safety plan, the PTASP, and, of course, your vehicle maintenance records. It is a top-to-bottom review, for sure. Now, here's where we get smart. They check 23 areas, yes, but agencies don't stumble equally across all of them. Year after year, certain areas cause way more problems than others. And if you know what those are, you can focus your energy where it matters most. And here they are. These are the big 5, the most common areas for deficiencies year after year. If you want to get the most bang for your buck with your prep time, start right here. Procurement is almost always at the top of the list. It's just so complex. Right behind it are Title VI, drug and alcohol programs, vehicle maintenance, and one that sounds simple but gets a lot of people, basic record retention. If you can lock these 5 down, you're already way ahead of the game. So what do these problems actually look like? Well, for procurement, it's usually a file that doesn't tell the whole story. Maybe it's missing the cost analysis, or it's not clear why you picked one contractor over another. For Title VI, it might be that you have a plan, but it's missing key elements, like an up-to-date analysis for riders with limited English proficiency. With drug and alcohol, it's all about the paperwork. A comment slip-up is a gap in your random testing records.
For maintenance, it's a lack of proof. You say you do preventative maintenance, but can you show the records for every single vehicle on schedule for the last 3 years? And that last one, record retention, is the most frustrating. A reviewer asked for a grain agreement from 2.5 years ago and crickets. You just can't find it.
Okay, so we know the process and we know the common pitfalls. How do we build a system to avoid them? The answer isn't just about working harder, it's about working smarter. And the absolute best way to do that is with a tool that I like to call the ultimate compliance binder. This is the big idea behind it. This binder, and it can be physical notebooks or a slick digital folder system, whatever works for you, it isn't just a pile of documents. It's your agency's entire compliance story, all organized and ready to go. So when that document request from the FTA lands in your inbox, you're not spending weeks scrambling. You're just flipping to the right tab.
And this is what it looks like. You literally create a section for each of the 23 review areas. You use the official FTA checklist as your table of contents. So under the procurement tab, you've got your policy plus a few examples of perfectly documented procurements. Under the Title VI tab, your whole program is there. The plan, the outreach proof, everything. The safety tab has your PTASP. The real magic here is that by building this binder, you're actually doing your own internal audit as you go. You'll spot the gaps and fix them long before a reviewer ever shows up.
All right, you've done the prep. Your compliance binder is a thing of beauty. Now it's time to talk about the on-site visit itself. It's game day. How you handle yourself during these few days can make a massive difference in the tone and outcome of the whole review.
Let's break this down into some really clear do's and don'ts. First, the do's. Do designate one person to be the main point of contact. This stops any confusion. Do answer every question factually and directly. And when they ask for a document, get it for them quickly. Now for the don'ts. These are just as critical. Don't guess. If you don't know something, the absolute best answer is, I'm not sure, but I will find out for you. Don't volunteer problems. Just answer the question they asked. And finally, don't get defensive or argumentative in the exit conference. Your job in that meeting is to listen and understand, not to debate.
So what happens if you do all this and you still get a finding? First thing to know, it's not a failure. It's just part of the process. How you respond is what really matters. First, read the finding carefully. Understand exactly what they're citing. Then, respond on time. You'll have a deadline to submit what's called a corrective action plan, or a CAP. Don't miss it. In that plan, be specific. Say exactly what you'll do, who's responsible, and when it will be done. Then, document the fix. Create a paper trail that proves you've addressed the issue. And most importantly, learn from it. Every finding is basically free expert consulting. Use it to figure out why the gap happened and make your agency stronger.
So let's bring this all home. What are the key takeaways here? 1. This whole thing is predictable, not personal. You know what's on the test. 2. Put your energy into those top 5 problem areas: procurement, Title VI, drug and alcohol, maintenance, and record retention. 3. Build that compliance binder. Seriously, it's the best tool you have. And 4. If you get a finding, see it as a chance to get better, not as a punishment.
And that really brings us to the final question, doesn't it? Every 3 years, that review is going to come around. That's a guarantee. The only thing that isn't set in stone is your approach. Is it going to be a threat that causes weeks of stress and last-minute panic? Or could it be what it's meant to be? A predictable, manageable chance to prove how great your agency is. With the right strategy, that choice is 100% yours.